Our next artist is Honoré Daumier. Now, he's part of the realist movement, but I like to think of him as a bad boy. Bad boy of the realists. He gets the nickname Defender of the Working Class in Paris because, as you can see in this photo of him, look at that. Look at that look. You don't give a crap. And it's a photo. We're going to get to photography in this week's lecture, I promise you. But Daumier, he is one who is in the now and he's ready for change. And he likes photography because it's new and it's something different. It just was invented. And he's friends with all the photographers in Paris. So, who is Daumier? Well, Daumier was a figure who painted, but he got most of his notoriety through his prints. And he was an illustrator and a contributing author to several political journals that would be published not daily or weekly, but periodically. And these journals would be heavy or harsh criticism of the French government and its policies towards the working class. So that's again why he's called Defender of the Working Class. Some of his prints include things like this. Let me move out of the way. Here we are. This is just a scene of people coming off of taxis as they rush into a train station. Miss Cortez, why'd you say train station like that? I told you trains are the future. Trains mean progress. And here we see a mix of characters from this poor peasant family who is sitting and waiting and looking for charitable donations to these middle class people and these working class people just kind of bustling around trying to find their way to their train. Here's another one. Daumier was a satirist. He made fun of, or had satirical images of people. Like, this is called the art appreciator. You see this man with all of this art behind him, and he's looking at this statue of Venus de Milo, half naked chick. Oh, I love art. I love art. Here's another art one. These are called the art appreciators as well. We see again, just kind of an honest, realistic view of people. This one's one of my favorites. Even though I'm a vegan, I like this one. This is called The Butcher. And what we see is a man who's hoisting up this carcass, this pig carcass. And Daumier, he's ennobled this figure with this beauty and strength and heroism. I'm telling you, even though I'm a vegan, butchery is not a really well desired profession for people. It's dirty, it's stinky, it's messy, it's horrific, and yet Daumier has ennobled this figure. He's given him this strength in his arms as he lifts or hoists up this carcass. Look at the light that rakes in, giving this dramatic chiaroscuro behind. This is an honor and a privilege and a power and a strength, this man. This one by Daumier got him into a lot of trouble. This is called Gargantua. Now, I told you that Daumier worked as an illustrator for several political journals. This work was for Le Charivari, I believe. It's basically an anti-monarch magazine, so anti-king. And in this, we see extreme anti-king. The title here, Gargantua. Gargantua is a disgusting, slobbering, sloppy, messy giant. And here he is. But you know who that messy, stinking, disgusting giant is depicted? The king! Louis Philippe. But Miss Cortez, I thought you said that Delacroix did the liberty leading the people because people thought Louis Philippe was going to be a great leader, and so they took out Charles X for him. Yeah. He was supposed to be the progressive, reformist monarch. Turns out He's just as terrible as the rest. At this time, there was an increase in censorship. Anybody who was found to be criticizing the king, at first the king was like, Louis Philippe was like, oh yeah, I don't care. You have your opinions, I have mine. And then people started to tell their opinions, to voice their opinions. And then all of a sudden, censorship, banned. Even the magazine where this was published was shut down, and all prints that were in the store were destroyed. Daumier was arrested and put into jail for 6 months for this caricature. Well, what is he showing here? My goodness. Well, I'll get to it, but just to tell you, this is not the only caricature he did of Louis Philippe. As Louis Philippe aged from this, relatively young, he's got a little belly there, but as he got older, he got even more portly. And so here you see the evolution of Louis Philippe from king to pear. Oh, here is another caricature of Louis Philippe by Daumier. So, what is going on and why was he arrested because of this? Okay. So what we see is Louis Philippe sitting in this chair, but it's not just any chair. If we were to be more aware of how people went poop and pee before indoor plumbing, this is a toilet chair. This type of chair would have a basin at the bottom to catch your waste, but instead of a basin catching waste, we see these government officials are catching declarations, bills, taxes that he keeps shitting out. Miss Cortez, you just said shit. I know. Okay, how about pooping out? Is that better? Okay. So what is he doing? He's just eating. He's sitting and consuming. Consuming what? Well, here we see the city of Paris, and then we see the people of France. They are tired, they are hungry, and rather than feeding and clothing and taking care of themselves, they are forced to pay these taxes to these fat, ugly, corrupt government officials who then collect all of the money, all of the food, and they take it up, 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 up to feed the beast. And then he gives us nothing but crap. Can you see why Daumier got in trouble for this? Yeah. But this isn't even an artwork I want to talk about. This is it. This is called Rue Transnagnon. Here. Rue Transnagnon, April 15th, 1834. This is a street in Paris called the Rue Transnagnon, and this is an event that happened on April 15th, 1834. What we're looking at here is a print, specifically called a lithograph. Now we'll get into the details of that, but let me first explain what we're seeing here. What happened on April 15th in Paris on Rue Transnagnon. This illustration by Daumier accompanied an article in the Anti-Monarch Journal about an event that happened on April 15th. In the middle of the night, a French patrol of the National Guard were patrolling through this neighborhood that is known for its demonstrators against the king. Rue Transnagnon is in that neighborhood. It's a working class neighborhood, and there had been some pushback, some protests, some demonstrations against the king in this neighborhood. And so the National Guard was out there in the middle of the night patrolling. And during the patrols, somebody in an apartment building threw down a flower pot and hit one of the guards and knocked him out dead right there on the street. In retaliation, the guards went into what they thought was the correct apartment building and floor by floor shot and killed everyone inside. That is the massacre we are experiencing here. We see a father in his pajamas We see an unmade bed. We see some tousled furniture. Perhaps in the middle of this massacre and hearing people screaming and being shot and killed, he rose up from his bed. He's been shot and he lies on top of his child. This uncomfortable crushing of his body on his kid. We can see his kid has also been killed. In the corner, we see what looks to be an elderly man, perhaps a grandpa who was living with them. In the shadows of perhaps a hallway, we see another woman, or we see another figure, a woman in her pajamas. Is that the mother? Is that grandma? What we see is a family that has been senselessly and brutally murdered by the King of France. Now, the connection here with the material, lithography, it's your next vocabulary word. Lithography literally translates to stone writing. Lithos is Greek for stone, graphy is Greek for writing, and what we see here is a technique in which you draw directly onto a stone plate with a grease pencil, and then you treat it with all these chemicals that we refer to as etching, so that the ink sticks to the grease and not the stone. I'm going to include a video of lithography beneath this video, and it's a really good demonstration video of the process. I also include that video because the chemicals used in lithography are some of the experimental chemicals used to create the first photographs, which we'll talk about later. In terms of composition, Daumier gives us tenebrism, this hot pop of highlight. He also gives us foreshortening. We come in at that toe, so it's like we're in the room. We can't move away. We can't look away. Also, remember, bare feet are vulnerability. So he's emphasizing the vulnerability of these figures, of these people who were killed in their beds in the middle of the night. Now, this does not bode well for Louis. Louis Philippe, the promise. Promise of all things great. Well, guess what? We've had enough. This pretty much signals the end, and we see the rise in 1848 of a republic, the Second Republic. Now, if you were like, wait, Second Republic, what are you talking about? Okay, so we had our first revolution where we killed Marie Antoinette and Louis the 16th. Then we had that brief time of republic where Napoleon was in charge, right? And then we had Napoleon as emperor, and that was the first empire. Then we had back to our kings, and we had Louis the 18th and Charles the 10th and Louis Philippe. Okay, so we had our kings again. We are now in our second attempt at a republic. So the French Second Republic, established in 1848. Now, as part of the French Second Republic, they elected a president, again, mirroring their compatriots across the Atlantic, the United States. They elect a president. Now, they wanted to somehow blend those who still preferred a monarchy with those who, believe it or not, were still Bonapartists. They still liked Napoleon. What they found was this happy middle ground. Napoleon III. Who? Napoleon III is the nephew to Napoleon. He calls himself Napoleon III because he wants to give honor to Napoleon's son, who is technically Napoleon II. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, you might be thinking I'm going way in the weeds with this, but this is relevant. We established the French Second Republic in 1848. The idea is every 4 years, just like the United States, there's another election. Until when that first election's supposed to happen in 1852, Napoleon says, you know what? I just think I'm going to do what my uncle did. I'm just going to do a bloodless coup, and I'm going to take over, and we're going to have an empire again. You are not hallucinating right now. I just said it. Napoleon III came in and started another Napoleonic empire. Number two, by Napoleon III. So we have now established a new empire, a new emperor, Emperor Napoleon, and his wife, not Josephine, Eugene. I can't make this up, people. It's crazy. I know. Okay, I'm going to stop here with this and we'll continue with photography.